Welcome. This week we have Gangster Squad, a movie that's actually pretty good, or at least as good in comparison to the last couple movies, which have been very not good. In reality, this is kind of a mid movie. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, it's a fun little action flick, but it's not like anything groundbreaking. It's based on real events, apparently, which I didn't know. Granted, I have like no knowledge of history of individual states, but it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. I also kind of realized I haven't watched like a pure, just like action movie in a long time. Cause like, oh, it's kind of fun to just watch these guys shoot things and blow stuff up. And I'm like, whoa, I haven't done that in a while. This is the first one for this whole podcast, I think, or at least the first one that's like purely focused on the like action part. Because the whole plot is that it's essentially like it's like a gangster movie, but it's like the cop versus mafia gang movie, which is really, it's been done before. It's been done a lot. It's been done better, but it's still like fun, even if it is just kind of like played up in this, but also like not played up enough. It's very predictable. And it's a good like solid mid but enjoyable mid, where I walked away and it's like, that was a good use of 2 hours. Will I watch this again? No, probably not, unless it's like with my dad. But I had a fun time, and that's good enough, I'd say. In terms of Emma Stone's presence, she's not really in it a whole lot, and her piece of the movie isn't really that big. But it is another Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone like romance piece in the movie, which is like at least 3 times I can think of that has happened, which is strange. Like 2, it's like the Doofenshmirtz meme where it's like, if I had a nickel for every time. But 3, it's like, three's a pattern. Granted, the other 2 are in like 2011, 2012, 2010, like this is 2013, and La La Land's in like 2016, no. It's later than that. I need to look. But it's just like strange that it's 20, yeah, La La Land is 2016. Jeez, I feel old now. It's strange that happened at least 3 times. But I'm not going to look any deeper into that. And if I do, it'll probably be for La La Land and not for this, because it's weird, but I'm okay with it because they're really good together, and like their dynamics have always been an enjoyable part of the movies that their dynamic is in. Ryan Gosling in this he has like an accent in it. I don't know what accent it is. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it was like, it grew on me. And I was like, okay, I can get behind this accent. He's also just kind of, he has weird vibes in this, but in like a good way, where it's like any moment you feel like this guy he's either vibing or he's about to go sicko mode and just like murder a bunch of people. But he also is like the only person beside, well, a lot of them have like families or like love interests, but I feel like none of them are really as focal for as long as like the Ryan Gosling or Jerry in this, and Emma Stone's named Grace as theirs in the movie. Because Agent O'Mara he has his wife, but she's really only in it in like the beginning, when she's like, I want you to return alive and not kill yourself in the line of duty, like, you seem hell-bent on doing. And then she helps like pick the gangster squad. So she's like in it, but then beyond that is like, she appears once or twice afterwards. The first to just be like, hey, Jerry, don't let my husband die for vengeance or his goal or whatever he's doing. And then at the end, where everything's happily ever after and everything is great. It was a little weird because I know Josh Brolin as like Thanos primarily because I've seen Infinity War way too many times. So opening with an opening narration that is just like antithetical to Thanos was just kind of funny. I do really like his voice though. Like he's just a really solid voice. I'm like, oof, I could listen to that for hours. He's a good lead in this, I will say. I feel like he can do cop pretty well. Do like the kind of rugged, justice oriented cop, which is good. That's what he needed to do here, and he did it pretty well. I enjoyed it. In general, though, this cast is like kind of stacked, which is like weird, but it's also nice because it has like Anthony Mackie, who I realized in this, I think he's just someone that like radiates coolness. Like he just kind of speaks, and I'm like, dang, you really just said that? And it was just so cool. It's also like, it sounds like he just has like nicknames for everyone, which I think is just like a him thing. Because in this, he's like one of the guys like Hop Along, but in like the MCU, he has names for all the people, which is just kind of like cool. But he also just delivers it in such a way where it like makes it feel cooler than it maybe actually is. I think we got like Sean Penn in here. He's been in some stuff that's pretty good, I think. We got Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, Michael Pena. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Giovanni Ribisi. I don't really know a whole lot about him, but he's in this. Nick Nolte in some stuff. I thought there was some more than that. But it was like, I was like, oh, these are a lot of like good people. I was like, dang. For a 2013 action flick. I have a brief because I just thought of this and I want to say it because I don't think it's entirely true and I want to say it and kind of get over it. Was for me, the movie felt very choppy, which I think was just my computer because I was watching it on my computer onto my TV. But I'm not entirely sure if that was just me or the movie. But I can use that to jump into the action of the movie, which is good. It's fine. It's fun. It's no like John Wick. Although the last fight scene being in a hotel, I was like, this feels very, very much like John Wick 3. Which this movie came before, but John Wick 3 did the same thing better. Because a lot of the action in this movie is just like machine gun for like 5 minutes. And then you just see people like, you can never really tell if someone got shot, but you know they did get shot because they died and they fall to the ground, which is fine. But a lot of it is just like spray and pray, and then people just fall to the ground and die. And I'm like, that's fine. I imagine that's probably like historically accurate or something like that, but it's still just like kind of boring for like a fight, which is why I like the gunslinger guy, because this is like, I know that guy was like, he's good at shooting, so he uses a little pistol and goes pop, 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 and people die. And you're like, cool, that's nice. But a lot of the action, like also in the terms of the plot, just kind of confused me because the whole point is the gangster squad is like not supposed to get caught. They're like essentially doing vigilante justice, but like not because they're being told to by like the cops or whatever the guy they work for is. But then they just, the first time they do it, they have like masks on. They're like all covered. They cover their mask up with them, like, and I'm like, yeah, that's what you do when you rob a place. And then it's the rest of the movie, they are just dressed like they normally are, which is just like cowboys. Like this is just kind of a cowboy movie in disguise, which may be saying something about like broader gangster movies. I don't really know, but or just the aesthetic of the 1940s. But it was like you were just wearing a cowboy hat and like a big droopy coat. Like you were just a cowboy to me. And all the action is like they just run into a place, do something there, like blow it up essentially. light everything on fire and then just like dip out, and no one is like, oh, I recognize that face when they're like walking the streets, because none of them are wearing disguises of any kind. If you had even remotely good like facial like memory, you could just be like, oh, I've seen that guy. He's one of the people who tried to shoot this place, because they don't kill a lot of people. Because Keller, I think his name is, their wire guy, is like, hey, let's not kill any more people. So a lot of it is like they just do their deed and get rid of the money, like blow it up and burn it and all that stuff. But then like half people just like run out. And it's like you could just easily remember that, and the mafia, Mickey Cohen, could just be like, hey, who'd you see? And just threaten like 4 people, and they'd be like, oh, he looks like this. Because really, I think this movie is a bit too long, because I think Mickey Cohen realizes too late that they're cops, when I feel like he should have realized a very long time ago that they were cops. Because the reason he realizes that they are cops is because they don't take any of the money and they burn it all. But this is like the 4th or 5th incident that they've done a similar thing. And they haven't taken the money before. They've destroyed the money then. So my thought is, someone who's so like bound tight with the money and like trying to keep his like business and like progress as he describes it alive, I feel like he would have noticed a lot sooner that like, oh, they aren't taking the money, they're probably cops, or I'm being wiretapped, because I feel like someone like that would just be paranoid. But also I think they try to explain it as just Mickey Cohen is just so arrogant that he doesn't notice. But then he does notice and is like playing with them, which is my other big grievance with like the last act or so when it kind of starts, is that they get lured into a trap. They found Mickey Cohen finds the wire and just lures them into a trap. He's like, yeah, we're going to be here, put it in this truck, It's like literally word for word, just like giving out what's going to happen. And these guys are just so like muscle-headed that they're like, oh, that's not a trap. And it's like, that is the most obvious trap in the history of traps. Like, you are being set up there, and I'm surprised no one put any thought into that before this. Because it's like, why were you not operating the wire with like a sense of hesitancy? Because it feels like it was just, oh, this, and this. Like, oh, we're going to trust this is what he's saying. And to me, my thought process behind that is, he could find out at any time. And also, he gave you literally all the information you need, which to me is very sus, because it's like, oh, this is broad daylight. Well, not broad, it's like happens at nighttime, but it's like right in the big public place. It's this big standout truck. You've been told exactly where, when, how, like what is happening. And then you just go and do that, and no one like bats an eye. Like, the only reason they get like figured out is because Jerry runs over and it's like, hey, don't do that. Because he finds out from Grace that he knows about the wiretap, and it's like, oh, yeah, you guys have been busted. So the wiretap guy just dies because people are stupid and didn't think critically about the wires they were receiving. But it's fine. They needed to have some stakes there. And that may have been what happened in real life. I don't really know. It was just kind of, it was whatever. It wasn't huge on it, but it wasn't bad. It was an enjoyable scene. But this movie also like is very open that like this whole town is just corrupt. Because the beginning when they try, like the first place they do is like the cops find them. And it's like, oh, he's bought off the cops. He's bought off the government. Like, he just has the whole town, Mickey Cohen has the whole town wrapped around his finger. And you're like, yep, that makes sense. But Mickey Cohen is like so openly just like, I am the boss of the city. Like, I own it all, which I guess is fair when you like own, when you like have paid off everyone. But I also feel like you should be a little more secretive about that. He also starts a gang war because he like the guy, because it basically starts like the guy from Chicago who is just torn in half. Like, we just see this guy get yoinked in two pieces. And it's like, you've just started a gang war, my friend. And he's like, I don't care. It's we gotta make progress. We can't have these Chicago people on us. And it's like go off, I guess. But I would think you would. Well, at the end of the day, I feel like you can explain it all away with he was prideful and arrogant, which is really just how you can explain 90% of this movie, is that Mickey Cohen is very arrogant and just trying to own everything, and people are trying to stop him. Which is, I don't know how mafia bosses or gangsters are in real life. I feel like that could probably track. It does not suspend my disbelief. But anyways, moving on to, I'm gonna get into the like Jerry and Emma Stone romance more, because that is it's like a decentish part of it. Really, Jerry is a bigger part of it, because Jerry is, I think, it may be my Ryan Gosling bias, but he is my favorite character in this movie because he's just really fun, but he also has like, is sensible. Like, he's involved in a lot, and also he's like, when they're busting into wiretap, he like goes in and kisses Emma Stone or Grace in this before leaving, while like he could have fully been discovered, and to me that is a big power move, and I respect the hell out of that. But their relationship is nice. I think of the ones in like that they have been a couple or like interests, romantic interests in, this is probably the weakest, because Grace slash Emma Stone like doesn't really have a whole lot to do in this. Because initially I walked in and I was like, oh, she's got femme fatale vibes. Like, she's gonna be doing some stuff, but she really just kind of doesn't do anything. Like, she just is there to like be a love interest and like get them someone, not even really on the inside, but like a connection for Jerry to like want to do it. Like, they don't really have, they have chemistry in that the two of them have played a couple before and just kind of naturally have good chemistry. But they're just kind of, it's just kind of a thing that's there that is relevant and helps in the end, because Grace is the one who like gets Mickey Cohen arrested because she sees Mickey Cohen killed Jack, who is Jerry's friend, who was in the movie for like 3 scenes and doesn't really do a whole lot aside from be like, hey Jerry, maybe don't mess with Mickey Cohen, and then is like, actually I hate you, Mickey Cohen, and then he dies because Mickey Cohen shoots him. And you're like, okay, cool. But I just kind of wanted a little more out of the Grace and Jerry romance, but I also kind of shouldn't expect it more because it wasn't really the whole point. I did like the implication that Grace's backstory was that she was just one of the girls that like came to LA, like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and then was immediately picked up by like the gangs and then put in like the brothels or prostitutes or whatever they have there at that time. Like, it's sad, but it also is like a nice callback to like the beginning of the movie, where like Omar's first thing is he does in the movie is like bust one of those like brothels or whorehouses or pimp places. I don't really know what they're called in the 40s or in general. Sex trafficking, that's probably something too. I just like that. That was a good detail just to kind of tie the things together to be like, yep, she's just another one. Like, the incident we see at the beginning is not an isolated incident. It is pretty common, which is really sad just in general, because it's like these people are coming in with like big dreams and then they're just immediately like yoinked off the street and just screwed over immensely and can just never escape a life that they had no choice in, never wanted to be in, but are now forced into for however long that gang lasts. But all is well that ends well, because the ending is everybody is happy. The hotel shootout was kind of nice, as I said earlier. Like, it was kind of cool. John Wick 3 did it better, but it was still like a decent like final fight. It was cool to just have them go in guns blazing, and then like the fist fight at the end between Mickey Cohen and Omara was cool. It was like that's Mickey Cohen was a boxer, so he's gonna box Omara because that's how it is, which is fine. It was just kind of a messy fight, but again, it wasn't like my favorite thing because a lot of it was just like spraying and praying and spraying and praying, and then like people would just fall and be like, oh, he got shot. I liked that the gunslinger guy like had his big like last moment with I guess Navidad or Michael Pena's character, because like beginning he's like, oh yeah, shoot where they're gonna be, not where they are, because he's like training Navidad like as his son to be the next gunslinger guy, and they have a cute little moment, and I was like, that's cute, pretty simple, but it was cute, and I appreciate that. But that was I don't want to say the best relationship in the movie, but I feel like that Emma Stone's Ryan Gosling is good, but it's also I think that is some of that is just bias, and that I like the two of them. I think the gunslinger guy, whose name I'm totally forgetting, and Navidad's is like fun, and it's pretty simple, but it's like effective at getting me to like care about these two as like a found family kind of thing, like a father son kind of thing. Omar and his wife is good, like they clearly like love each other and are having a great time. But I also like don't. The wife doesn't really do anything for most of the movie. Like after she assembles the team and is like, I'm concerned about my husband's life, she just kind of dips out until it's the end, and they're like, wow, it's happily ever after. Their kid is fine. Like I think there's the most emotional stakes for the Omar and his wife, but it also just felt kind of cliche in a way, because it was more just like, oh, like there are always the cop movies or like the gangster movies where it's like, I want my husband back. I don't want this guy who's like a murderer, which has been done like time and time again. And like, yeah, the like father passing the torch to his like son is a cliche too, but I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna just walk in circles trying to justify this. I just liked it more when he was like, when he finally got Navidad to do the shooting, and I had a good father fake son moment. We like that for them. We love that for them. Rip the gunslinger guy. He had a good run, even if like 90% of what he did was just shoot. Let's see. It was nice to see that Cohen got just absolutely destroyed in prison. I didn't know Jack had so many friends in prison, but I guess that kind of makes sense. Although it kind of doesn't now that I'm thinking about it, because my understanding of how Mickey Cohen dealt with people was that if they crossed him, they just were killed. Like, I don't really know how Jack, unless Jack had like people that are independent of Mickey Cohen, but it's like I just kind of assume anyone that has ever been involved with Mickey Cohen and done something remotely wrong is now dead, and I guess that was not the case, which is fine. It's it's whatever. It's a detail, it doesn't really matter. I was surprised Grace didn't die. I thought she was gonna get killed in the crossfire. I feel like that would have been a cool moment. Not really like cool, but like a good emotional moment. Anthony Mackie was cool. We appreciate him. The one cool kill was that I forget who it was. It was just one of like the like Mook guy, like one of the random henchman dudes who owned a place got like a drill to his head to die. And I was like, I don't think I've seen that too often. That was pretty neat. It was gross. They didn't really show it. They showed like the blood splatter against the window. But I was like, I don't think I've seen a drill to the head very often. There's also some like weird cop propaganda at the end. I think kind of to start wrapping things up. The end is like a weird. I wouldn't not propaganda, but it's like dedicating to like it feels like very much like I'm dedicating this movie to those who served. They won't be named or noticed, but they're doing God's work, something like that. Like it felt very like not necessarily out of character for Omara, but it felt very much like this one's for you. This one's for you, cops. Shout out to you. You guys are doing the good work. And it was just. It didn't feel like part of the movie. It felt like it was an inspirational speech to cops. And I was like, that's a little weird. Like, it makes sense because, like, Omar was a cop in the movie. But it just felt very, like, not a part of the movie. It just felt like it was a shout out to the cops who don't get their names noticed but are doing things. But it was just like an end narration, and I was like, that's not great, but it's better than the static images of like every biopic. So it's like, I guess I'll take listening to Josh Brolin for a little longer over a static image saying, Marilyn O'Mara did this. He was a cool guy. He helped take down this, this, and this. Los Angeles has never seen this, and there's like a paragraph of text a couple times. So, like, it's fine. It was just it felt very tonally out of place. Considering, like, the whole movie is them being like, we're not cops. Like, we are, but we're not supposed to act like that. And the cops are kind of seen as, like, the bad guys in a way. Because they're all being paid off by Mickey Cohen. So it was just like I don't know. I don't really know if like concrete words to put to the feeling. It was just rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, this feels a little strange that it's like this. So I guess like it's like go off. Like, it's not hurting anyone. It felt weird to end it on that. I could have just seen Omara and Jerry being happy and been like, sick, we're out, boys. And been okay with that. That's really all I have to say. In general, it was a good time. It was nice to watch a decent movie as opposed to just the bad ones we've watched for so long. Is this the best one? No. I looked at the list on Letterboxd I made. You can find a Letterboxd at Hagita. You have a list of just Emma Stone movies ranked. And this did make me realize that there's a very significant gap between like half of the movies here, because it's like there's like 6 or 7 now, and then it's like the first 3 or 4, probably like 3, because it's like Cruella, Easy A. I can't think of the other one. There's another one there I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. And then it's like this is like the good middle. And then it's like the huge jump, even though that jump is only like a star rating on Letterboxd. Where it's like, I wish I could put like blank spaces between the list, because it's like putting this next to, it's The Help. The Help was the other one. It was like Cruella, Easy A, and The Help. It's like putting those and then having like Crazy Stupid Love next to that. I was like, these two should not ever be touching. Putting these two in like the same sentence in terms of like quality is insane. But now we have a good like buffer movie, because I feel like there's a jump between The Help and Easy A and like Gangster Squad, and then there's another jump from Gangster Squad to Crazy Stupid Love, which is this doesn't really matter. This is kind of just me looking at these movies we've watched and being like, wow, some of these were really bad. But I feel like as we go, we'll probably have more to like fill out that divide, unless we somehow just have like mid mediocre movies and above for the rest of this, which is I don't think that'll be the case. But it was like, wow, I have very strong feelings about a lot of these movies, and I do not really about other ones. Like this, I have I have issues with it and things I like about it, but I don't feel as like vehemently angry as I did about the movies that are a lot worse than it. Like I finished this and I was like, that was good. I'm fine. I can move on with my life. Whereas like Crazy Stupid Love and like Irrational Man, I just think about those movies and like while I'll be recording this and I'll like think about that and then I'll be like, it's like a static in my head turns on and I just go red eyed and I just hate them even more. But maybe at the end we'll have a final. Just we'll see how much of this ranking I can do by memory and just see how strong my hatred for those movies is by the end of everything. Because I feel like when we're weeks and weeks out, maybe things will get a little less bad. But for now, it's still very fresh. Well, that's all for this one. Gangster Squad is a pretty good movie. Good time. I don't know what's coming next. I feel like Birdman's coming up pretty soon. If it's not this one, the next one it'll be in the next few. Because I'm running out of things that are on streaming services I have. We're getting into the rentals or the Fubos or the weird niche streaming service that I'm going to get a free trial for and binge every movie on it. So look forward to those. But all in all, I had a good time with this. I appreciated a decent movie for once. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, morning, whatever you're watching this. Goodbye.